is Citizen Weekend with Olive Barrows.
A very good evening to you. Welcome to Citizen Weekend. And tonight, we're discussing proper arrest procedure. This has been triggered by the untimely demise of Albert Ojang in police custody. Questions have arisen over why he was transferred from Homa Bay to be held at the Central Police Station. Why not? Why wasn't he summoned and arrested instead? And then also, while in custody, what were his rights? And how can we safeguard against the Kamata Fridays, which some view as a way to punish suspects? That and more coming up in the course of this news hour. I will be joined by two advocates of the High Court. We have Julie Wayua-Madheka, who is a program manager, ICJ Kenya, and will also be joined by another advocate who also happened to have been a former, or happens to be a former IPOA commissioner, and that is John Waiganjo. So do stay tuned. But as is the custom, we begin with the highlights. Telling tall tales. CCTV footage indicates police knew that Albert Ojang was dead when they took him to Mbagathi Hospital.
Her legacy continues to remind us that justice must never come at the cost of safety. 1 year on, Judiciary marks first anniversary of the death of Principal Magistrate Monica Kivuti as it reflects on safety for its officials. Give us our money. Drivers and security officers who ferried national exams in Kisii decry lack of payment 7 months on. 2 KDF pilots die in a plane crash during military training in Davaya, Kwale County. Our sign language interpreter tonight is Yula Nzale. We begin this broadcast with revelations regarding the murder of Albert Ojang. Exclusive CCTV footage that Citizen TV obtained corroborates a Mbagathi hospital report that stated that Ojang was dead at the time of arrival at the hospital. The 40-minute video clip indicates that the police were well aware of Ojang's state as they arrived at the hospital at 1:35 a.m. and were in no apparent hurry. They took him inside the facility 24 minutes later with no medic helping the police officers move his body from the police van into the building, where they only stayed for 10 minutes before his body was taken back to the vehicle. Gatete Njoroge stays on this developing story.
At exactly 1:35 a.m. on June 8th, CCTV footage at Mbagathi Hospital captures a police van driving into the facility. Inside the van were 3 officers. One of the officers was the driver. 2 officers got out of the car and could be seen conversing before making their way inside the hospital. The driver followed behind slowly, but even before they got to the emergency room, one of the officers received a call and the others followed him out. For 3 minutes, he was on the call before returning into the hospital building. All this time, the late Albert Ojang was at the back of the police van. No one checked on him despite the officers having supposedly taken him to Mbagathi Hospital as a person who was gravely unwell. At 1:40 a.m., 2 officers were captured walking inside the hospital, searching for medics. 6 minutes later, they emerged with a stretcher and they got straight to the van. It took another 10 minutes to move him from the police van to the hospital. With the help of the security guard at the facility, the late Ojang on a stretcher was pushed inside the facility at 1:59 a.m., 24 minutes after he was brought to the facility. Inside the emergency room, Ojang only stayed for 10 minutes. Those in charge confirming the worst. The suspect was brought in dead. Mbagathi Hospital incident report indicated that on examination, Ojang was unresponsive, had no cardiac activity, and that his entire body was cold and face was swollen, and with injuries. He also had a cut at the back of his head. At 2:10 a.m., The CCTV captured the officers leaving the emergency room with the body of the late Ojang. 5 minutes later, the police van left the hospital parking with the corpse, which was later taken to city mortuary. Why were the officers not in a hurry to ensure he was attended to? Who were they talking to on their phones at a time when they were supposed to be busy ensuring he was attended to? Meanwhile, interdicted Central Police Station OCS Samson Talam, who is being held at Langata Police Station, has denied being at the Central Police Station when Ojang was booked, claiming he had handed over duties to his deputy.
He handed all the instruments of his office. He handed over the pocket phone for communication to his deputy. We shall be producing CCTV footage to show that he was nowhere near the police station called Central Police Station.
The lawyers who have also disputed the claim of Talam interfering with the CCTV say they will move to the High Court to challenge his prosecution, claiming he is being framed. Gatete Njoroge, Citizen TV, Nairobi.
Staying with Albert Ojang, the Pentecostal Voice of Kenya has condemned the brutal murder of Albert Ojang while in police custody, terming it a disturbing reminder of the country's ongoing struggle with extrajudicial killings. Meanwhile, the Luo Council of Elders, speaking separately in Nairobi, condemned the recent wave of abductions and killing of young people, including Ojang, warning Kenyans against protests that disrupt businesses and emphasizing that it does not support violence in any form. Take a listen.
Pentecostal Voice of Kenya also demands that the government enacts and implements comprehensive statutory and policy reforms in the security sector that will put an end to these extrajudicial killings once and for all, and uphold the sanctity of human life. It is only by doing so that we will start to heal as a society and ensure sustained peace and stability in our country.
Because it is now too much, and when we lose these young people, where is our future and the future of the country Kenya?
The torture and death of Albert Ojang in police custody has rekindled public debate about lofty pledges that were made by the Kenya Kwanza administration that campaigned partly on a platform of ending rights violations by the state, such as extrajudicial killings and enforced disappearances. The administration has, since coming into power in 2022, failed to arrest the situation, with human rights bodies expressing concern at the unabated violations and calling for their end. Ayub Abdikadir retraces the promises.
Seemingly taken aback by the epidemic of enforced disappearances, extrajudicial killings and the catalogue of human rights abuses, ostensibly committed by the administration he served as the deputy president, Dr. William Ruto, convincing in tone, abandoned the security policy identified with his then boss, Uhuru Kenyatta.
Kenya Kwanza will end political weaponization of state institutions. We want these institutions to operate independently, as is expected of them by the Constitution.
And for the horrifying violence meted on Kenyans, the then Deputy President directed his executive anger at the police, laying blame at the doorstep of the duty bearers.
We have the most incompetent Inspector General of Police, I think, in the world. The most incompetent in the whole world.
His assumption to office offered the new administration with remedial measures, the casualties list kicking.
Polisi wakabadilika wakawa ni watu wa kuwaua Wakenya badala ya kuwalinda. Tumevunja, mimi nimeamurisha juzi ivunjwe ile ilikuwa inaitwa special sijui nini ya police ambayo ilikuwa inaua Wakenya kiholela. That is the history we want to forget. How did Kenyans end up being killed in this manner? And then it was business as usual. 30 bodies in Yala. There's 17 bodies in Garissa. I don't know how many bodies were. You know, people, you know, there was a container here at the Nairobi area where people were being slaughtered in a police station. How did we end up there? You know, what kind of rogue, you know, institution? And that is why I fired that Kinoti man, you know, because, I mean, it's not right.
Despite the piecemeal interventions, the notoriously trigger-happy culture of Kenya's police service continued, including indiscriminate targeting of unarmed civilians protesting against punitive tax proposals. Young Kenyans lifting the lead on maladministration and gross governance failure. The taxpayer-funded Kenya National Commission on Human Rights reported 60 cases of extrajudicial killings and 71 cases of abductions and enforced disappearances after the 2024 Gen Z-led demonstrations, calling the wave of killings unprecedented targeting and killings of individuals as at October 2024. The killing of Albert Ojang while in police custody renews debate on administrative failures to end heavy-handed police conduct, either directly or by being complicit, and the long winding route to justice for his and families of Kenyans fell by police bullets. There is an ongoing process that includes investigations and a court process to establish just who killed Ojang, but his death is bound to raise queries on whether the Kenya Kwanza administration is really any different from the one it succeeded. Ayub Abdikadir, Citizen TV.
2 KDF soldiers have died in a plane crash in Ndavaya area of Kwale County during military training. The Grob 120A aircraft crashed in Viramboni, Ndavaya Ward, Kinango Sub-County. The plane is said to have developed mechanical problems during a training flight over the general area of Mwakijembe Primary School in Kwale. On board the plane were the 2 pilots. Kwale County Commissioner Steve Orinde said further investigations are underway to determine the cause of the crash. Emergency response teams, including Kenya Air Force crash investigators, have since been deployed to the scene for search and recovery. Months after playing a crucial role in the administration of last year's national exams, drivers and security personnel manning exam containers in Kisii are yet to be paid, a situation that has left many of them in agony and desperate. The affected teams, who facilitated safe storage and transportation of exam papers from October to December of 2024, say their concerns have been ignored even as another exam season draws near. Citizen TV's Crispin Otieno spoke to some of them in Kisii town and filed this report.
It has been 8 long months since these men and women answered the call to serve, ensuring secure handling and timely delivery of national examination materials to various schools. For many, this wasn't their first time. They've been part of this national duty for years, often waking up before dawn and returning home after dusk. But this time, what was meant to offer them financial relief through some extra work has only brought misery, uncertainty, and silence. They say since the start of KPSEA in October to the final KCSE paper in December last year, not a single shillings has hit their accounts, even as preparations for the next round of national exams begins. In Kisii town, I meet a group of drivers exhausted, frustrated, and broken. Their voices trembled as they spoke of the pain they have endured, unpaid, unheard, unseen. We've concealed their identities for their safety.
Na tukijaribu kuulizia labda watu wa sub county hao wanahusika na mambo ya education, wanasema endelea kuongojea tu, mlipeana namba pesa itakuja tu. Lakini sasa tunashindwa, hii budget inaendelea kuisha, ni kama hii mwezi inaendelea kuisha, sasa tuingie mwaka mwingine hakuna pesa inaingia. Tulikuwa na matarajio makubwa sana, hiyo pesa ingetusaidia kwa ajili tuliumia sana, hizi magari zilikwama, zilipata matatizo, tukalala nje, pesa yetu imeenda, hii ni mwaka mwingine. Pia wanatarajia tutawashughulikia kwa hii mtihani yanayokuja, so tuko na mauchungu, hiyo pesa yetu tutapata.
They say after submitting their bank details, nothing has been communicated, no explanation, no timeline, no response.
Kwa shule hata mimi sikulipwa hiyo 2023. Mimi hata sikujua ningelipwa pesa ngapi, kwa sababu tulikuwa tunaambiwa tunaacha telephone number na majina yetu na namba ya kitambulisho. Ile pesa ya kulipwa hatukuambiwa tutalipwa pesa ngapi, lakini tuliambiwa kuna malipo, tuachie tutawatumia kwa simu.
The frustration cuts across, including members of the security team who escorted exams across various regions in the county. Even officers assigned to drive senior government officials during the monitoring exercises say they have been forgotten.
Ministry of Education waangalie na watulipe pesa zetu kwa sababu tulifanyia kazi. Hiyo ni term exercise. Masaa ya kuamka ni mapema sana. Sometimes unakuta terrain za barabara ni mbaya, unang'ang'ana kufikisha mtihani.
With their faith in the system slowly fading, they cling onto one last thing: hope. Hope that someone, somewhere will listen and act. It has been more than 8 months of agony for these drivers since they offered their services to the nation. They are yet to be paid. They don't know who to ask. They're now calling upon the Ministry of Education to delve into this particular issue in a bid to find a long-lasting solution to it. Crispin Otieno for Citizen TV, Kisii County.
The Judicial Service Commission says it still needs more budgetary allocation to implement safety measures in courts and for its officers and court users. The JSC says 1 year since the brutal murder of Principal Magistrate Monica Kivuti, some of its officers are still operating under makeshift courts. At the same time, the JSC members revealed that the late Kivuti did everything by the book in the case she was presiding over before she was fatally shot.
It has been 1 year since that fateful afternoon at the Makadara law courts that shook the judiciary and the nation. Principal Magistrate Monica Kivuti was gunned down as she discharged her duties. Investigations now vindicate the deceased, as her colleagues say she followed the law to the letter.
But Monica was driven by a strong sense of justice, and given the history of the matter, she recorded everything in her record. We actually, in the course of investigations, got an opportunity to look at the record she had taken that day. And it was very clear that there had been a pattern of absconding. So, of course, she's a judicial officer. She is not a doctor. She ordered that the accused be taken to hospital so that they can verify her condition before she can say the bond is to be reinstated, or if it's a lie, then the bond should be cancelled. And that is the reason, by virtue of that decision that she made, that Monica was shot.
And her legacy continues to remind us that justice must never come at the cost of safety.
Remembrance of Monica was a dedicated missionary of justice, and to remind Kenyans that even as our judicial officers serve in various parts of the country, they also face danger sometimes from disgruntled members of the public or the accused people.
In the wake of her death, the judiciary proposed a raft of measures to ensure the safety of its officers and the civilians who come to them in pursuit of justice. A year later, the JSC says some of these measures have been implemented.
So the first and foremost thing we did was to phase out all makeshift structures that were being operated as courts. So communication was sent out there, but then we were met with the challenge: do we now shut down those courts? Because we have about 8 court stations that operate from makeshift structures and have no alternative premises where court business can be discharged.
The JSC, however, says the challenge of safety within courts persists, many of the courts lacking perimeter fencing and exposing the officers to untold dangers. The solution to these challenges lies in the National Treasury's purse and how much it gives to the judiciary. This financial year, the judiciary was allocated 27.8 billion shillings. This, the JSC says, will not be sufficient to address the challenges they face. The JSC also says,
with that budget, we can only be able to cover 13 courts with the CCTV and the scanners. So there's still a shortfall. We are still not able to reach the 145 courts where we need to enhance the security of the courts.
It is in the process of finalizing a judiciary security policy that will guide safety protocols and standards across all judicial institutions. Brenda Wanga, Citizen TV.
Despite mounting pressure for pro-government leaders to reveal the source of funds dished out in the empowerment programs held weekly, the leaders have come out guns blazing, saying they will not be cowed. Speaking at different fundraisers that have now been christened Empowerment Fora, the Deputy President, as well as members of Parliament, termed the drives as necessary, vowing to ensure uniform development across the country. Laura Otieno now reports on the defense and efforts to entice leaders from the opposition.
The determination by leaders allied to government to uphold fundraisers seems to be gaining momentum, with the Kenya Kwanza team landing in Muranga County on Saturday. At an event said to be empowering a women's group, Kikuyu MP Kimani Ichung'wah poured cold water on allegations by a section of opposition leaders who claim some of the funds could be from government coffers.
Ati wanatuuliza maswali, ati tunatoa pesa wapi? Wacha tuwaambie, hatutegemei mshahara peke yake. Sisi ni wakulima, sisi ni wafanyi biashara mashuhuri, na pesa zetu ni zetu na raia wenye utupigia kura.
Na sisi tukiwa hapa ni kuambia tu Mheshimiwa Ruto na Mheshimiwa Papa wa Roma na kina Oparanya ya kwamba tuendelee kuempower kina mama na vijana wetu ili pia wakuwe na pesa kwa mfuko.
Deputy President Kithure Kindiki held a similar drive in Wote, Makueni County, where he castigated the opposition for propagating divisive politics. In an apparent charm offensive aimed at Wiper Democratic Movement Party leader Kalonzo Musyoka, Kindiki threw barbs at his predecessor, even as he called on leaders and Kenyans at large to give former DP Gachagua a wide berth.
Kuna watu nimeona wananyemelea ndugu yangu mkubwa kujaribu kumdanganya na kumuingiza kwa siasa ambazo sio siasa za type yake. Kwa sababu Kalonzo ni mtu ya heshima. Hata wanasema sijui cousin, sijui nini. Kati ya mimi na mtu ya mitego, nani anakaa kama rafiki ya Wakamba?
In Kisumu County, while attending the burial of Rachel Achieng, leaders under the broad-based government hailed the arrangement, which they said will ensure uniform distribution of resources across the country. Disparaging the one-term chorus championed by the opposition, the leaders called for a tone down of political rhetoric to allow government to deliver on its promises.
When elections come, we have an opportunity to assess those who have worked, those who have delivered. We give them another mandate. If they have not, we also have the opportunity to replace them. But between now and then, we must support all our leaders to work for us.
Laura Otieno, Citizen TV.
And with that report by Laura Otieno, we take a break. Thank you for staying with us on Citizen Weekend.
Residents of Tinet Ward in Kuresoi South constituency have taken to the streets to protest the deplorable state of a 26-kilometer road stretching from Mwangati Junction to Chemosian Tea Factory. The demonstrators, mostly small-scale tea farmers, say the poor road has crippled transport in the area, making it nearly impossible to deliver produce to the factory, especially during the rainy seasons.
Chanting slogans and waving twigs. Angry locals gathered at Kapkembu Trading Center before marching several kilometers to express their frustration over the neglected road, which connects Chemusian Tea Factory to Olenguroini Molo Highway. The protesters decried frequent delays and losses incurred as vehicles transporting tea leaves get stuck in the mud for days, often leading the produce going to waste, especially when it rains in the area.
Tunauliza huyu MP wetu naitwa Joseph Tonu, ni nini mbaya, tulikukosea nini? Tulikuchagua asubuhi na mapema ndio ukakuwa MP yetu, na ilhali tunastuka saa hii tunabeba jaa yetu na mgongo sababu barabara imeharibika.
According to the demonstrators, the impassable road conditions have severely disrupted their livelihoods. Many of them depend on the route to transport farm produce to markets and factories, but suffer huge losses due to frequent crop spoilage and delivery delays.
Hata marori yalilala siku tatu huko barabara kwa masimu. Hata sasa hiyo masimu iko tu. Hata ukikuja wakubwa wetu akuja aone vile hiyo barabara anakaa. Sisi iko tabu. Chai sina chuna, anakuwa mbolea kwa mashamba. Sina mwaga.
Chemusian Tea Factory says it's losing up to 20% of tea leaves due to delays from stuck vehicles, adding that transporting processed tea to Mombasa now costs more due to poor road conditions. The factory also reports a 15% increase in vehicle repair costs. Several private transporters have pulled out, citing the road's terrible state. In more dire cases, locals reported that expectant mothers have been forced to deliver by the roadside while trying to reach health facilities, highlighting the urgent need for government intervention and the rehabilitation of the road.
There is a transformation that is quietly unfolding at Kwanyumba Village, Mikindani area, Mombasa County. Known as a crime and insecurity hotspot with gang and drug abuse running rampant, the area is slowly changing to one of the more peaceful and secure places in Mombasa. More than 200 former gang members have traded crime for fish farming and planting of mangroves. As we'll hear now from Francis Mtalaki, the project has restored hope and peace to a once troubled neighborhood with zero case of insecurity in the last 6 months.
From the skies is Kwanyumba Village in Mikindani Jomvu constituency, Mombasa County. The area looks calm and serene, a far cry from its troubled past. For years, this neighborhood was considered a haven for criminal gangs that terrorize residents with violent robberies, often crossing one shore to another through the ocean to evade capture. One such case is Stephen Musyoki, who decided to put up rental houses 3 years ago. That dream encountered a lot of security challenges.
Ile hali ya kujenga ikawa kuna wizi mwingi sana, because eventually ndio tu abandon kujenga, vijana walikuja wakata chuma zile nguzo za kusimama, ikawa sasa ile nyumba haiwezi endelea juu.
That prompted Musyoki and his friends to seek a solution before building the house. They formed Majestic CBO, bringing together over 200 youths in the village, targeting gang members and drug addicts.
Security ilikuwa juu sana. So nikaona the best thing, kwa vile vijana wako idle, ni vijana watumia drugs, ni vijana wana kitu ya kufanya, tukaona tutengeze kikundi.
The group has since become a beacon of hope, anchored on a fish farming project with 26 fish ponds that continue to reform youth in the area, many of them ex-criminals, by giving them a purpose and income.
Kwenye nimefikia nashukuru Mungu kwa sababu nimejua vitu vingi kupitia huu mradi.
Almost 40% of the harvest, apart from the 60% ambao tulikuwa tumeitishwa kama order, tumeweza kuuzia watu wa area.
The crime reduction has been experienced in Jomvu.
The said youths are also working closely with the local administration, chiefs, Nyumba Kumi, the whole system of administration and security, the security organs.
The fish ponds now occupying what was once a criminal transit point across the ocean. Every day, these youth feed the fish, watch over the area, and help in maintaining order in the village, ensuring 24-hour security in the community while earning a livelihood.
Na tunazidi kwamba Mungu tupate zaidi wengine kuajirika na kuacha kutegemea nafasi za serikali za kazi za juu.
Community imekubali umradi, manake ni mradi wa kipekee, ni mradi ambao unapea vijana changamoto na kazi ya kufanya.
We have various mamas, it's brought on board various mamas also. There's basket weaving, we have talent search. Youths are also engaged in talent search. We have football activities over there.
We are hoping to do much more than this. Probably we'll do walkboards on top of the ponds. We have some trainings for the students, for the local community. Maybe if we extend towards that end, we do some water sports activity. The creek is a beautiful place, but it's idle.
Beyond fish farming, all participants are required by law to join a weekly mangrove tree planting drive every Saturday, helping to conserve the environment and prevent shoreline erosion.
We plant trees. We have a nursery. So conservation after we came in is in top gear.
Wale watu wengi ambao tunachukua takataka kwao especially za kuoza, wengi wataikupeana bure, maana kwa wameona kuna kitu inatoka mahali.
It is a project that is slowly transforming Kongombe area from insecurity to job creation and now conserving the environment. Francis Mtulaki, Citizen TV, Mikindani, Mombasa County.
From Mombasa, we head to Muranga County, where Governor Irungo Kangata has called for investment in the manufacturing sector. Kangata says this is the best way to grow the economy and increase job opportunities for Kenyans. Speaking during the second day of the Muranga Investment Conference, Kangata said developed countries have made significant progress by prioritizing investment through industrialization. He noted that Muranga County already has operational industries processing agricultural products such as coffee, milk and tea, and emphasized that there is still vast untapped potential that can generate employment for thousands of youth if the available resources are fully utilized.
It is worldwide, all countries that have prospered, all of them, they must first industrialize. We want more and more factories to come to this region, and that's the whole rationale of this investments conference.
For you to evaluate the investment, there are some key things you have to look at. And the first one, of course, is what's the potential for my investment growing and giving me a good return? The other very serious consideration for any serious investor is how strong is the engine? Is the engine room in place? And is it working well the way it should? The engine room I'm talking about is the governance aspect.
We take a break on Citizen Weekend, but coming up, the sports news. Harambe Stars will be eyeing a strong start when they kick off their Sekafa Senior Women's Championship campaign this Sunday against Burundi at the Azam Complex in Dar es Salaam, Tanzania. The Bildine Odemba coach side faces a tough test against Burundi, who edged out defending champions Uganda 1-0 in their opening match. The 5-team tournament will be played in a round-robin format. For Kenya, the championship also serves as vital preparation.
Kuface hizo game ziko game za Sekafa, and nashukuru kwa hiyo opportunity nimepata. Nitaweza kulana a lot kutoka kwa macoach, ma players na kila mtu.
Tumekuwa hapa for 2 days now. Training imekuwa poa. Kila mtu amejipush na mimi na feel kila mtu ako ready because hii tizi tumekuwa nayo ya mwisho, kila mtu amejisukuma na feel tuko sawa na tuko ready for the tournament.
Football Kenya Federation Vice President McDonald Mariga and former Harambe Stars captain Victor Wanyama are mourning the loss of their mother, Mildred Wanyama, who passed away early Saturday morning after an illness. According to the family, she had been recuperating but sadly passed on earlier today at the family home in Lavington.
She was fine, she was happy and very jovial. She ate properly, she had no hakuwa na shida yote, alikula tu akiwa sawa. Hata akaniambia, dadangu, enda nyumbani kesho uje unichukue unipeleke kwa nyumba. Akiwa salama, haja kuni. Mtu alikuwa anatembea, anajiosha, anajilisha.
Kenya's homeless team has intensified its preparations ahead of the Africa Championship set to take place in Nairobi at the end of this month. The team, currently training at the Kiambu grounds, is optimistic of clinching the continental title for the first time. 8 countries from across Africa will take part in the tournament, which also serves as a build-up to the Homeless World Cup scheduled for August in Oslo.
Na kuweza kupatia wasichana wetu exposure, at least waweze kupata ile challenge na hizo teams za nje, maana tuko na Ivory Coast, tuko na Egypt, tuko na Uganda, Tanzania, tuko na Zimbabwe, Zambia, alafu tuko na Ghana. So unaweza imagine hizo teams sio rahisi.
First of all, empowerment tu. Juu homeless in main theme ya hii mwaka ni GBV, gender based violence. So ukempower wengine, they come speak out their minds, tutashukuru. Alafu there is the transportation cost, then the accommodation.
The Africa Youth Scrabble Championship trophy has arrived in Kenya exactly 2 months before the continental tournament kicks off at Brighton International School in Syokimau, Machakos County. Kenya becomes the 4th stop on the trophy tour, following Nigeria in May and Togo and Liberia earlier this month. Meanwhile, at Utumishi Academy in Gilgil, Nakuru County, 335 youth players from 39 schools are battling it out in a 2-day national trial.
And it's out again, going all around Africa. It's just pretty much to bring publicity to the event, both in the schools, amongst the youth players on the continent.
Cardiff FC from Lakeview Ward were crowned champions of the Naivasha Junior Football Tournament held on Saturday at the Marlin Grounds in Naivasha Sub-County, Nakuru County, after defeating Gitwamba's 11 Lions 3-1 in the final. At the same time, Mizizi FC from Hellsgate Ward secured 3rd place after a 2-0 win over FC Nantes from Viwandani Ward.
Under 13 kwa football inamaanisha mtoto hafai kupita 13 years kwenda juu, ni 13 years kurudi chini. At least that age group ikigrow pamoja, tutaweza kuwa na hiyo ladder yenye tutakuwa tunaweza kufeed other teams na hata pia the national team. Ukikumbuka kwamba our national team football haifanyi vizuri kwa sababu hapa chini tumeweza kusahau hao watoto.
Tunapatia boy child na pia girl child nafasi ya kuweza kujikuza mentally na pia physically, hivi kwamba waweze wakajiepusha na mambo ambayo ni mengi tunajua ya uraibu wa mihadarati, na hii itakuwa ni advantage kwa sababu pia hata shuleni itawasaidia.
It is time for myself and our sign language interpreter Yula Nzale to bid you a good night. But coming up, Neville and with the powerhouse. So they are a powerhouse tonight. Aziza, you know her from 10 over 10, but tonight she's on the decks. Stay tuned.